I remember the way the hospital smelled that day. Sterile, sharp, and suffocating, like the scent of goodbye. The world outside was drenched in rain, and the glass window beside my father's bed blurred with every droplet that rolled down, mirroring the tears I tried so hard to hold back. My father, once a man of unshakable presence and commanding strength, now lay frail and pale beneath crisp white sheets. His breath was shallow, but his eyes, those eyes that once saw the world as a battlefield of business and integrity, still burned with a fading light. I held his hand tightly, afraid that if I let go, he'd drift away completely. His fingers, once so steady, now trembled weakly against mine. "Liana," he whispered, his voice rough like broken glass. "Promise me, you'll be okay. Don't talk like that, Dad." I whispered back, my voice cracking despite my best efforts to sound strong. "You're going to get better. We'll go home soon. I'll cook your favorite soup." He gave a faint smile, the kind of smile that breaks you more than tears ever could. "You always were too hopeful, my girl," he murmured. Then his gaze shifted past me, to the tall figure standing quietly by the door. Ethan Carter, my father's most trusted protégé, his right-hand man, his shadow, and the only person I ever saw as dependable as my father himself. He stood there, dressed in his usual black suit, posture straight, expression composed. But his eyes were filled with something almost reverent as they looked at my father. "Ethan!" my father called weakly. Ethan stepped closer, his polished shoes clicking softly against the hospital floor. "I'm here, sir." My father squeezed my hand once more, before letting go and reaching toward Ethan. "You've been like a son to me," he said. "You know how much this company, this family means to me. After I'm gone, I need you to take care of both." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he nodded respectfully. "I promise you, sir, I'll protect everything you built, and I'll look after Liana, as if she were my own." My heart stuttered at his words. It wasn't the first time Ethan had spoken kindly of me, but today, under the dim light of that hospital room, those words carried a different weight. My father gave a tired smile, the kind that carried his trust, his relief, and his farewell all at once. "Good," he said. "Then it's settled. You two should be together. Ethan, marry her. Keep her safe. Keep the company in the family." My breath caught. I froze. "Dad," I started, but he lifted a trembling hand, silencing me. "I know what I'm saying," he whispered, his voice fragile but firm. "He's the only man I trust with your heart and my legacy." Ethan looked as shocked as I felt. His eyes flickered to mine, confusion, hesitation, and something unreadable there. Then slowly, he nodded. "If that's your wish, sir, I'll honor it." My father closed his eyes, his expression peaceful now, as though the weight of his life had finally found rest. "That's my last wish, Liana," he murmured. "Don't let anyone destroy what we built." And just like that, his hand went limp in mine. The monitor beside him emitted a long, unbroken tone, the sound that shattered my world. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just sat there, frozen, feeling the warmth fade from his skin. Ethan gently placed a hand on my shoulder, his grip firm but comforting. "He's gone," he said softly, as if saying it aloud would make it easier to believe. The funeral came and went like a blur. Black suits, condolences, and the suffocating scent of white lilies. Everyone called my father a legend, a visionary, a man whose word was gold. But all I could think of was his last wish, his hope that Ethan would protect me and the company. After the service, Ethan stayed behind. The sky was still grey, the air heavy with the scent of rain-soaked earth. He stood beside me under the awning, silent for a long while before he finally spoke. I didn't expect him to say that, he admitted quietly, his hands tucked into his pockets. But I meant what I said. I'll protect you, Liana. You have my word. Something inside me softened at that. Ethan had always been reliable, calm, capable, the one person my father trusted unconditionally. I nodded slowly, wiping the last of my tears. Thank you, Ethan. My father believed in you. And so do I. He gave me a small, almost melancholic smile. He was like a father to me too, he said. I'll make sure his legacy stays alive, no matter what. For the first time since my father's death, I felt a flicker of comfort. Maybe things would be okay. Maybe, just maybe, Ethan and I could carry on my father's dream together, just as he wished. In the days that followed, Ethan was everywhere, organizing the company affairs, overseeing transitions, protecting me from greedy shareholders who wanted to exploit my grief. He was sharp, decisive, and yet gentle with me when the world felt too heavy. I began to depend on him more than I intended. His presence steadied me. His calm reassured me. And when he smiled, really smiled, I felt something stir within me that I hadn't expected. Warmth, trust, maybe even love. Sometimes, I caught myself watching him when he wasn't looking. The way he spoke to others, the confidence in his posture, the quiet intelligence in his eyes. It was easy to see why my father had trusted him so much. He wasn't just capable, he was magnetic. One evening, as we stood on the terrace of my father's house, overlooking the city, he turned to me and said, "You're stronger than you think. Liana, your father would be proud of how you're handling everything." I smiled faintly, the city lights reflecting in my eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you, Ethan. You've been incredible." He looked at me for a long moment, and for the first time, his expression softened into something tender. "Your father trusted me," he said quietly, "and I won't betray that trust. I'll always be by your side." Those words sank into my heart like a promise. I didn't know it then, but that promise would soon become the deepest wound of my life. The very thing that would shatter everything I believed in. Because love can heal, but sometimes it destroys. And in my story, it would do both. The months following my father's death blurred into a haze of board meetings, condolences, and quiet nights staring at empty rooms that once echoed with laughter. Ethan became my constant, my anchor when the world spun too fast, my voice of reason when grief threatened to drown me. He handled the company's affairs with precision and authority, earning respect even from those who once doubted him. Every time someone questioned my position as heir, he stood beside me, shielding me like a silent guardian. In those moments, I thought my father had been right. Ethan was the man I could trust, the man who would protect everything my father left behind, including me. It started subtly, the small gestures, the late-night calls to discuss business that turned into long conversations about life, about dreams. I'd find myself watching him as he loosened his tie after a long day, his sleeves rolled up, his voice low and tired, yet somehow comforting. He carried the weight of the company effortlessly, as if he was born to lead. One evening, as we were reviewing financial projections, I looked up from my laptop and found him watching me. His gaze lingered longer than usual. "What?" I asked, my cheeks warming. He gave a half smile. "You remind me of your father sometimes," he said softly. "Focused, determined. But when you smile, you remind me of someone else entirely." My heart skipped a beat. "And who's that?" His expression softened. "Someone who makes me forget how lonely life can be." There it was. The shift. That unspoken line that blurred from professional to personal. My pulse raced, but I didn't pull away. For the first time since my father's passing, I felt seen. Not as a grieving daughter or a struggling heir, but as a woman. In the weeks that followed, our connection deepened. He'd bring me coffee during long work hours, drive me home after late meetings, and sometimes stay to cook dinner when he noticed I was too tired to eat. One night, he arrived unannounced with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "To your father," he said, raising his glass. "And to you." The future of his dream. I smiled faintly and clinked my glass against his. "To loyalty," I said. He smiled too, but something flickered in his eyes. Something I didn't recognize then. Time passed, and our bond grew undeniable. He started calling me Leah instead of Miss Vaughn. He'd brush my hair from my face when I looked exhausted, his fingers lingering just a second too long. Eventually, he confessed what I had already begun to feel. "I know it's complicated," he said one evening as the sun dipped below the skyline, casting amber light across my office. "But I can't pretend anymore. I care about you, Liana. More than I should." My breath caught. "Ethan." He took a step closer, his voice low and sincere. "I made a promise to your father to protect you, but somewhere along the way, I started wanting more than just to protect you." Tears filled my eyes before I could stop them. "You don't have to say this out of obligation." He silenced me gently with a touch to my cheek. "This is an obligation. This is me, the man, not the employee, telling you that I love you." And just like that, my heart melted. Maybe it was grief, or hope, or that desperate need to believe in something pure again. Whatever it was, I let myself fall. When he kissed me that night, it felt like the world finally gave me something back, after taking so much away. I thought it was love, destiny even, that the man my father trusted most had chosen to love me too. We kept our relationship private, though rumors started swirling among employees. Ethan dismissed them with his usual calm, and I didn't care. For once I was happy. But happiness has a cruel habit of hiding storms beneath calm skies. It started with whispers, a passing comment from my secretary. "Mr. Carter seems close with Ms. Monroe lately." I brushed it off. Isabella Monroe was a PR consultant our firm had hired for an upcoming campaign. Smart, poised, and beautiful in that effortless way that made people turn heads when she entered a room. Ethan had mentioned her in meetings a few times, praising her work. "She's talented," he said once, when I teased him about his enthusiasm. "You'd like her, actually. She reminds me of you." But she didn't. Isabella had a coldness behind her charm, a sharpness in her smile that felt calculated. Still, I tried to trust him. After all, he was Ethan, the man who promised loyalty above all else. Then came the missed calls, the late meetings that stretched into the night, the subtle shift in his tone when he spoke to me. Less warmth, more distraction. One night, I decided to surprise him with dinner at his apartment. I spent hours cooking his favorite dish, roasted lamb with red wine sauce, something my father used to love too. I wanted to thank him for everything, to remind him that amidst all the chaos, we still had us. But when I arrived at his building, my world stopped. Through the tinted glass of the lobby, I saw him, standing by the elevator, his arm around Isabella's waist. They were laughing, their bodies close, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the chandelier. Then, as if time itself wanted to mock me, he leaned in and kissed her. My entire body froze. The container in my hand slipped and shattered on the marble floor, spilling food and tears alike. The sound made him turn, his expression twisting in shock. "Liana," he breathed, stepping toward me. "It's not what it looks like." I stared at him, my heart thundering painfully in my chest. "Not what it looks like?" My voice trembled, breaking into a hollow laugh. "You're kissing her, Ethan. How else am I supposed to see it?" He opened his mouth, but no words came. Isabella just stood there, arms crossed, eyes cold and triumphant, as if she had won some unspoken game. "I trusted you," I whispered, my vision blurring. "My father trusted you, and this is how you honor his last wish." "Liana, listen." No, I said, stepping back. I've heard enough. The elevator doors closed behind them as I walked away, my tears blinding me to the city lights. That night, I sat alone in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My heart didn't just ache. It felt shattered beyond repair. Days passed, but the pain didn't fade. The next time I went to the office, people avoided my gaze. Whispers filled the corridors. I found out later that Ethan had publicly announced a merger with Isabella's firm. Without my consent, without even informing me, I confronted him in the boardroom, fury burning through every word. You used me, I spat. You used my father's trust, my name, everything. Ethan's face was cold, unreadable. Business and emotion should never mix, Liana, he said, his tone detached. You should have learned that by now. My voice broke. So this was all just business to you? His silence was the answer. That night, as rain poured over the city again, I drove aimlessly, my mind replaying every lie, every promise, every word he'd ever said. My father's voice echoed in my head. Don't let anyone destroy what we built. But it was too late. Ethan had already done that. I never saw the truck that came speeding through the red light. There was a flash of light, the sound of screeching tires, and then, nothing, silence. And when I opened my eyes again, everything was different. When I opened my eyes, the world was muffled. A soft, distant hum, like a memory half remembered. My head throbbed. My body felt heavy, and the sharp smell of disinfectant filled my lungs. For a fleeting second, I thought maybe it was all just a nightmare. The betrayal, the crash, the heartbreak. Maybe I'd wake up and find myself in my father's study again, the sound of his pen scratching against paper as he worked late into the night. But when I turned my head, reality hit me like a second collision. I was in the hospital again. The same pale walls, the same flickering light, but this time, no one was waiting by my side. No father, no Ethan. Just the hollow echo of machines and the faint rhythmic beep that mocked my survival. A nurse entered, startled to see me awake. Miss Vaughn, she said softly, you're lucky to be alive. It's been 3 days. 3 days. 3 days since I'd lost everything. My body might have survived, but my soul had been shattered beyond recognition. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling, letting silence consume me until numbness was all I had left. The only thing sharper than the pain was the memory of my father's last wish, the one Ethan had trampled so effortlessly. When I was discharged, the world outside didn't pause for my grief. The company was in chaos. My father's portrait had been taken down from the main hallway and replaced by the sleek new logo of Carter Monroe Enterprises. Ethan and Isabella's names were on every press release. Their smiling faces adorned business magazines under the headline, "The Power Duo Redefining Modern Corporations." It was like I had been erased from the company, from history, from the legacy my father built brick by brick. I stood outside the building one morning, watching the employees walk past me, their heads down, their loyalty already transferred to Ethan. It was almost poetic. How easily people forget the hands that once fed them when power changes its nameplate. When I entered the building, security stopped me. "I'm sorry, Miss Vaughn," the guard said awkwardly. "Mr. Carter said you no longer have authorization to access the premises." My heart dropped. "This is my father's company," I said, my voice trembling with disbelief. "My name is on the founding papers." "I'm sorry, ma'am," he repeated, not meeting my eyes. The humiliation burned deeper than any wound from the crash. I turned and walked away, each step heavier than the last. That night, I showed up at Ethan's penthouse. Not to beg, not to plead, but to demand answers. When he opened the door, he looked different, colder, sharper. The warmth I once loved replaced by an icy arrogance that sent chills down my spine. "Liana," he said, adjusting his cufflinks as if my presence was a mild inconvenience. "You shouldn't be here." I stepped inside anyway. "What did you do?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You merged the company, without board approval, without me. You stripped my name from everything." He sighed, as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. "It's business, Liana. Your father built something great, but it was outdated. I just evolved it. You should thank me. Thank you," I repeated, almost laughing through my tears. "You betrayed my father's dying wish. You used me, Ethan, his trust, my love, just to get control." His eyes flickered for the briefest moment. A flash of something that might have been guilt, quickly replaced by indifference. "Don't make this personal," he said flatly. "You were part of the plan. I needed your name to secure investor confidence. That's all." My heart dropped to the floor. I stared at him, searching for the man I thought I knew, the man my father had trusted. But he was gone. And Isabella, I whispered. "Was she part of your plan too?" He smiled then, a cruel, twisted smile. "She's the only one who ever understood what I wanted. She helped me achieve it. You were too sentimental to survive in our world." The room spun. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My knees went weak, but I forced myself to stand tall. "My father treated you like a son," I said quietly, "and you killed his legacy for love. Or maybe just for greed." He shrugged. "Your father's ideals died with him. It's time to move forward. You should too." I wanted to scream, to slap him, to make him feel even an ounce of the agony twisting inside me. But all I could do was whisper, "You'll regret this." He chuckled, cold and cruel. "I never regret winning." I left his penthouse that night with rain soaking through my clothes, lightning flashing across the skyline, like the heavens themselves were angry. My father's last words echoed in my mind. Don't let anyone destroy what we built, but I had failed. Over the next few months, everything crumbled. Ethan sold off divisions my father had spent decades nurturing. Loyal employees were fired. Isabella rebranded my father's foundation under her own name. It was as if every trace of him was being systematically erased. And I was powerless to stop it. The press labeled me the naive heiress, too emotional to lead, too inexperienced to fight back. Ethan and Isabella became the industry's golden couple, their smiles on magazine covers, their story celebrated as a modern business romance. Every time I saw their faces, it felt like another knife twisting into my chest. I tried to rebuild, to start over, but the world had already moved on. No investor wanted to work with the woman who'd been betrayed and beaten by love. My father's friends turned away. The mansion was sold to cover debts. One night, sitting alone in the empty house, I found one of my father's old recordings. His voice, warm and firm, filling the silent room. "Liana, business is built on trust, and trust, once broken, can destroy empires. Remember, my girl, love can blind you, but never let it blind your judgment." Tears streamed down my face as I whispered to the empty room, "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't protect what you left me." Outside, thunder rumbled. The storm that night was relentless. Wind howling, rain slashing against the windows like angry hands. I felt a strange pull, like fate itself was calling me somewhere. I grabbed my coat, my father's ring still on my finger, and drove, without destination, without reason, just away from everything that reminded me of loss. The road was slick, the lights blurred through the rain, and my thoughts were louder than the storm. Ethan's voice echoed in my mind. I never regret winning. The betrayal, the humiliation, the emptiness. It all boiled over in that moment. I pressed harder on the accelerator, the world rushing by in streaks of grey and silver. And then, headlights, a horn, screeching tires, impact. silence, then darkness. But what came next wasn't death. It was something else, a second chance. Because when I opened my eyes again, the world wasn't what it had been. My father was alive. My home was untouched. The date on my phone read 5 years earlier. I gasped, my hands trembling as tears filled my eyes. No, this can't be real. But it was. I was reborn. Back to the day before my father's illness worsened. Back to where it all began. And this time, I wouldn't let history repeat itself. When I returned to the present, my second life, the air felt different. The same sunlight filtered through my window, but it didn't sting anymore. It reminded me of freedom. The mansion was the same, yet I was not. The woman who once wept in silence had died with the last breath of my past life. I promised myself, no, I swore to my father's memory, that this time I'd protect his wish, his dignity, and myself. The housekeeper, Aunt Lin, came rushing in with a bright smile. Miss Lin, young Master Zhao is here to see you. He says it's urgent. I felt my stomach twist, but not from nervousness. Zhou Ming, the man who had once vowed to protect me after my father's passing, was here. The man who betrayed that vow to please another woman. In my previous life, I had waited for his proposal like a fool, thinking love was enough to make a person loyal. But this time, I smiled coldly at the mirror. Let him wait. When I finally stepped into the grand living room, Zhao Ming was pacing impatiently, dressed in a sleek grey suit that only highlighted the sharpness of his face. Once, those eyes made me weak. Now, they reminded me of every broken promise. He turned as soon as he saw me. You're up late. I was worried. I tilted my head. Why? He hesitated, then chuckled softly. Because I'm about to make you the happiest woman alive. In my past life, those exact words had come before the grand proposal. My engagement that was supposed to fulfill my father's wish. But it hadn't been love that day. It had been manipulation, dressed as affection. He pulled a small box from his pocket and knelt on one knee. Yeah, your father wanted us together, and I stopped him there. No, he didn't. He froze, stunned. What? My father wanted someone who'd respect me and his legacy, not someone who'd betray his last wish for personal gain. His expression faltered. He tried to laugh it off. Yeah, what are you talking about? You're being dramatic again. We both know Uncle Lin wanted us married, so our families could merge, and you could take over his company. I interjected sharply. You don't have to pretend, Ming. You've already done it once in another life. He blinked, confused. I realized my words were dangerously close to the truth. Only I knew. But I kept my gaze firm, my tone steady. I refuse your proposal. The silence that followed was suffocating. Zhao Ming's smile faltered entirely. You? Refuse me? Why? Yeah, I've been nothing but loyal. Loyal? I let out a bitter laugh. Loyalty isn't measured by how long you stay, Ming, but by how you act when temptation comes. You failed that test before it even began. He stood abruptly, frustration tightening his jaw. This is about Lin Royi, isn't it? You're still jealous of her? I stepped closer, my voice low and calm. Jealous? No, I pity her, because she thinks she's won a man who doesn't even know what loyalty means. He took a deep breath, trying to regain control. You're making a mistake, Yue. Our families are tied by business. Refusing me would mean rejecting your father's last arrangement. I smiled faintly. Then let it be broken. I'd rather live alone than marry a man who buried my father's honor for a woman's lies. The shock on his face was priceless. For the first time, he looked small, no longer the charming heir I once worshipped. His confidence cracked, revealing fear. Because this time, I wasn't the naive girl begging for affection. I was the woman who knew how the story ended. He left in silence, the unspoken threat lingering in the air. I watched from the window as his car disappeared through the gates. My heart didn't tremble. It burned with quiet satisfaction. But that night, as I lay awake, I felt the ghost of my father's hand on my shoulder. You did well, Yue, but the road ahead won't be easy. He was right. Refusing Zhao Ming wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The storm that had once destroyed me was coming again, and this time, I intended to meet it head-on. A few days later, I received an invitation that made my stomach tighten. A charity gala hosted by the Zhao family, and beneath it, a handwritten note. Let's end what we started. For good. The ink was bold. The challenge was clear. As I folded the invitation and slipped it into my clutch, my reflection in the mirror smiled faintly. Then let's end it, Zhao Ming. But this time, you'll be the one on your knees. The night of the Zhao family gala arrived draped in golden deceit. The grand ballroom shimmered with chandeliers, laughter, and the illusion of sophistication. Every guest here wore a mask, some literally, others emotionally. I'd been here before in my past life, smiling like a fool on Zhao Ming's arm, thinking I was loved, respected, and safe. Tonight, I came not as the naive fiancé he once paraded, but as the woman reborn from betrayal. When I entered, heads turned. My gown, a sleek black silk with silver embroidery, moved like liquid night. Each step echoed with quiet defiance. I could feel the whispers already. Isn't that Lin Yue? She looks different. She refused Zhao Ming's proposal, didn't she? How bold. I ignored them all. My gaze swept the room until it landed on him, Zhao Ming. He was surrounded by business partners, laughing, holding a glass of champagne as if nothing in the world could touch him. But the moment our eyes met, his composure slipped, just slightly, but enough. He excused himself from his circle and walked toward me. You came, he said smoothly, his smile tight. I wasn't sure you would. I tilted my head and missed the chance to see you perform your favorite act. Pretending to be perfect. His jaw tightened, but he kept smiling. You've changed, Yue. You were never this sharp. I learned from the best, I replied softly, letting the words hang between us. Before he could answer, a graceful woman appeared beside him. Lin Ruoyi, the woman who, in my last life, had whispered poison into his ear, turning him against my family. She wore a crimson gown tonight, one that clung to her like arrogance. Her smile was sweet venom. Miss Lin, she greeted, pretending surprise. How lovely to see you here. Alone, as usual? I smiled back. Oh, not quite. I have something far more reliable than company. Self-respect. The crowd nearby went silent for a moment. Even Zhao Ming's smirk faltered. Lin Ruoyi blinked, then forced a laugh. Still as dramatic as ever, I see. You should really learn to let the past go. I leaned closer. Funny, I was about to say the same to you. Before the tension could escalate further, an unfamiliar voice broke through. Ladies, perhaps we should save our claws for the dance floor. I turned and froze. The man standing beside us had the kind of presence that silenced a room effortlessly. Tall, poised, with eyes that saw too much. He looked to be in his early 30s, dressed in a classic black tuxedo. There was something hauntingly familiar about him. Mr. Zhao, he greeted Ming with a polite nod, before turning to me. And Miss Lin Yue, I presume. I blinked. Yes, and you are. He smiled faintly. Li Chen, I was once your father's business partner. My heart skipped. Father's partner. But father never mentioned anyone named Li Chen. He continued. I was abroad for several years when your father passed. I returned recently to find his legacy. Changed. His eyes flicked toward Zhao Ming, meaningfully. Ming's smile thinned. Mr. Li, this isn't the place for business talk. Li Chen's gaze remained steady. Perhaps, but sometimes business and betrayal wear the same face, don't they? The air between them crackled. Guests were beginning to notice, whispers rising again like the buzz of insects. I decided to seize the moment. I raised my glass. You're right, Mr. Li. My father's company deserves better than deceit hidden behind charm. I'm glad someone else sees that too. Zhao Ming's eyes darkened, his voice low. Careful, Yue. You're walking a dangerous path. I met his stare without flinching. I've walked through fire before, Ming. I don't fear ashes anymore. Li Chen's eyes flicked toward me with quiet admiration. Your father would have been proud, he said softly. Something in his tone made my heart tighten. There was sincerity there. Real, not the kind I used to crave. The rest of the evening unfolded like a slow duel. Zhao Ming tried to charm investors, but Li Chen countered his every move with grace and quiet authority. I stayed composed, speaking only when necessary. Every word sharp enough to cut through the web of lies Zhao Ming had spun for years. Near the end of the night, when the crowd began to thin, Li Chen approached me again. Miss Lin, I've been reviewing some of your father's old contracts. There's something you should see. It involves Zhao Corporation. My pulse quickened. What do you mean? He handed me a sleek black envelope. Read it when you're alone, and be careful. Some debts never die, even when people do. He gave me a small knowing smile and walked away, leaving me breathless and uneasy. As I stepped out of the gala, the cool night air hit me like truth. I clutched the envelope tightly, my heart racing. Inside was a key, one I never had in my past life. A chance to uncover what Zhao Ming had hidden, and what my father's final wish truly meant. I looked up at the sky, whispering to the stars, Father, this time. I'll finish what you started. What I didn't know then was that opening that envelope would not only destroy Zhao Ming's empire, but uncover a secret that could rewrite everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and my father's death. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my window, calm and innocent, as if the world didn't know that my hands held something capable of shattering everything. The black envelope from Li Chen lay untouched on my desk, its seal unbroken. For hours, I stared at it. Unsure if I was ready, my instincts screamed that what lay inside would change everything I believed about my father, Zhao Ming, and even myself. Finally, I drew a deep breath and broke the seal. Inside, I found two things: a folded set of documents and an old photograph. My father stood beside a younger man, Li Chen. Their smiles were genuine, full of ambition and trust. Behind them, on a construction site, was the signboard, Lin Zhao Holdings. My heart tightened. Father and Zhao Ming's father had started their empire together, but Li Chen was there too, hidden from every story I'd ever been told. I turned to the documents next. The first page was a shareholder agreement. The last line froze me. In case of either partner's death, all decision rights pass to the legal heir, unless an undisclosed clause is invoked by the third founder, Li Chen. I frowned. Third founder? There had never been mention of a third founder in my father's records. But there it was. His signature, my father's, and Zhao Corporation's patriarchs. Then I saw the last page. Handwritten notes in my father's familiar pen. If something happens to me, find Li Chen. He knows the truth about the betrayal. Don't trust Zhao Ming. He's already chosen the wrong side. My breath caught. My father knew before he died. He knew Zhao Ming would betray him. A sudden wave of emotion crashed over me. Grief, guilt, and fury all at once. I had spent my first life loving the man who ruined my father's final wish, blind to the fact that father had tried to protect me, even in death. I barely noticed the knock on the door until I heard a voice that was both unfamiliar and grounding. You opened it. I turned sharply. Li Chen stood by the doorway, calm and observant. How did you? I knew you'd be too curious to wait, he said, with a faint smile. And I wanted to see your reaction. I frowned, stepping closer. You were his friend, weren't you? My father trusted you. He nodded slowly. He did, until Zhao Ming's father forced me out of the company. I tried to fight back, But by the time I returned from overseas, your father was already gone. His tone darkened, the words heavy, and everything he built was under Zhao control. I swallowed hard. So my father's death, was it natural? Li Chen hesitated. The silence was deafening. Then he said quietly, "Let's just say, the timing was convenient for Zhao Ming's family. The air left my lungs. The walls seemed to close in around me. You're saying he might have been killed." "I'm saying," Li Chen replied evenly, "your father had enemies who saw his morality as a weakness, and Zhao Ming was too ambitious to see he was being used. My knees nearly gave out, but Li Chen caught me before I fell. His hand was firm, steady, grounding. I felt my composure shatter for the first time since my rebirth. All this time, I thought father's last wish was about my marriage. But it wasn't. It was about justice." He met my eyes, his voice low. "Now you understand why I gave you that envelope. You have something they never wanted you to see. Something that makes you dangerous." My heart pounded. "Then they'll come for it. They already are," he said. "That's why you can't stay here." Before I could respond, the front door slammed downstairs. My housekeeper screamed. I rushed to the window and froze. 3 black cars had pulled up outside the Lin mansion. Men in suits stepped out, the Zhao Corporation logo glinting on their lapels. Zhao Ming Li Chen's expression hardened. "He must have found out I gave you the file. We need to go, now." I hesitated, my pulse racing. "Run? No, I've run enough in one lifetime." He studied me for a moment, then nodded, almost proud. "Then we fight, but not here." He led me through the back exit, down the garden path that led toward my father's old office, the one room I had sealed since his death. When we entered, the faint scent of sandalwood still lingered. Dust covered his desk, but the moment I touched it, memories flooded back. His warm laugh, his hand on my head, the day he said, "Marry someone who will protect your soul, not just your name." Li Chen placed a small drive on the desk. "Everything you need is on this. Financial records, contract trails, even the coded communication between Zhao Ming and Royi's offshore accounts. Your father started this investigation before he died. I finished it." I stared at him. "Why help me?" His expression softened. "Because your father once saved my life, and because..." He hesitated, then said quietly, "I made him a promise, that if anything happened to him, I'd protect you." My chest tightened. His gaze didn't waver, and for a long, fragile moment, I saw something in his eyes that wasn't just duty. It was care, something warm and unfamiliar, after years of cold betrayal. Before I could speak, the sound of footsteps echoed outside the office door. Zhao Ming's voice boomed, cold and furious. "Yeah, I know you're in there. Open the door and we can talk like adults." Li Chen looked at me. "Your choice, Yue. Confront him now, or expose him when the time is right." I felt my heart beat steady, my fear melting into purpose. No, he's been controlling the story long enough. It's time he hears mine. I turned toward the door, clutching the documents to my chest. "Let him in." As the door swung open and Zhao Ming's furious face came into view, I felt strangely calm. The man who once held my heart now looked like a stranger standing on the edge of ruin. He glared at Li Chen. "So this is what it's about. You think you can steal her from me too?" I laughed bitterly. "Steal me? You can't steal what was never yours, Zhao Ming." His expression twisted. "You'll regret this." "No," I said softly. "You will, because for the first time, I had something more powerful than revenge, the truth, and soon, everyone else would too." The air in my father's office felt thick enough to choke on, the scent of old wood and dust, mixed with tension so sharp it could slice through the silence. Zhao Ming stood at the door, anger blazing in his eyes, while Li Chen stood slightly behind me, silent, unreadable, but ready. The two men couldn't be more different. One burned with arrogance. The other radiated quiet control. I placed the documents carefully on the desk, my father's old fountain pen resting on top. You came quicker than I expected, Zhao Ming, I said calmly, though my heart thudded in my chest. He scoffed. You didn't think I'd sit quietly while you tried to ruin me, did you? Ruin you? I smiled faintly. No, Zhao Ming. You ruined yourself the day you chose greed over loyalty. His expression hardened. This again? Your father's business was failing. I saved it. By selling half of it to your lover's shell company. I shot back, voice trembling, not from fear, but fury. Don't insult my intelligence. I've seen the proof. Offshore accounts, fake contracts, even your father's coded emails. You used my father's death to take control of what he built. For a second, Zhao Ming froze, shock flashing across his face, before he masked it with cold disdain. You've been talking to Li Chen, haven't you? His gaze flicked toward the man beside me, filled with venom. Of course you have. The fallen partner, the ghost of the past. Did he tell you he left because he couldn't handle the pressure? Li Chen finally stepped forward, his voice low but cutting. Pressure? You mean watching your father blackmail mine into signing over his shares? The color drained from Zhao Ming's face. You have no proof. Oh, I do, Li Chen replied, his tone calm. Your father recorded everything, and now his son is walking the same path of betrayal. Zhao Ming turned back to me, fury and desperation mingling in his eyes. Listen to me. You don't understand how business works. Your father was idealistic. He didn't see the danger coming. I had to make decisions that killed him. I interrupted, my voice a whisper. Is that what you call it? Decisions. He took a step closer, his anger faltering into something raw. Panic. I didn't kill him. He collapsed in that meeting, yes, but I tried to help him. Then why? I cut him off again. Did you forge his final will? The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Zhao Ming's eyes widened. He didn't speak, didn't breathe, because he knew I wasn't guessing. I knew. Li Chen placed a flash drive on the desk, its silver edge gleaming under the light. Your father's signature was copied. Digital forensics confirmed it. The date on the file didn't match the day of his death. Zhao Ming's mask cracked. You think anyone will believe that? You're both just bitter, trying to drag me down. I walked toward him, meeting his gaze. I don't need to convince anyone. Once this goes public, your reputation, your empire, everything your family stole, it'll crumble on its own. He clenched his fists. You wouldn't dare. I smiled softly. I already did. He froze. What? I gestured to my phone on the table. Live streams are a wonderful thing, don't you think? Every word you just said, every slip, every denial, broadcasted straight to the press channels. By now, the world knows what really happened to Lin Corporation. His face went pale. For the first time, Zhao Ming looked powerless. You destroyed me once, I said, my voice low but firm. You buried my father's name and made me believe I was the problem. But not this time. This time, the truth stands with me. He looked between me and Li Chen, disbelief written all over his face. You think this changes anything? I'll rebuild. I'll come back. No, Li Chen said quietly. You won't. The financial crimes tied to your accounts are enough to ensure you never step into a boardroom again. Zhao Ming's fury twisted into something darker. Hatred. You'll regret this, Yue. You think this man cares about you. He's using you too. You're just a pawn in another man's game. I met his glare with quiet strength. If that's true, at least this time I chose my side. He took one last look at me, his eyes burning with something between anger and heartbreak. Before storming out, the sound of the door slamming echoed like the end of an era. Silence settled again, heavy but liberating. I turned toward Li Chen, my adrenaline finally ebbing. It's over, I murmured, my voice trembling slightly. It's really over, He nodded slowly. For him, yes. For us, maybe not, I frowned. What do you mean? He hesitated before speaking. The Zhao family won't forgive this. They'll retaliate, especially when they find out your father's assets are legally yours again. A cold chill ran down my spine. So it's not over yet. No, he said quietly. But you're not alone this time. For a moment, our eyes locked. There was something unspoken there. Gratitude, understanding, and the faintest trace of something more fragile, more dangerous. I smiled faintly, exhaustion washing over me. I guess I should be thanking you. He shook his head. Don't thank me, Yue. Your courage did what justice couldn't. You didn't just avenge your father, you freed yourself. His words lingered in the air, warm and powerful. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. But deep inside, I knew peace was never permanent. Not in this world. Because that night, as I sat alone in my father's office, the phone on his old desk began to ring. Slowly, I picked it up. Miss Lin Yue? An unfamiliar voice said, cold and deliberate. Yes. Zhao Ming has vanished. My heart froze. What do you mean vanished? He fled the city before the police could arrest him, and he took something with him, something that belonged to your father. The line went dead. My hands trembled as I set the phone down. Just when I thought it was over, fate reminded me that vengeance and justice are never clean. There's always another secret waiting beneath the ashes, and this one felt personal. The phone slipped from my trembling hand as the voice echoed in my mind. Zhao Ming has vanished, and he took something with him, something that belonged to your father. For a long time, I just sat there, frozen. The rain had started outside, soft at first, then heavier. Like the sky was mourning too. After everything, the confrontation, the exposure, the truth, I thought I could finally breathe. But life never granted me peace easily. Not in my past life, and certainly not in this one. When the door opened, Li Chen stepped in, his expression grave, his phone still in his hand. You heard, didn't you? I nodded. He's gone. His eyes darkened. The police are already looking, but he's covered his tracks well. He left the country through a private charter an hour ago. He's headed to Singapore. Singapore, I repeated, confused. Why there? He hesitated. Because that's where your father's offshore trust was established. The one tied to his last project. The one no one could ever find. My heart skipped. You think Zhao Ming went after it? Li Chen nodded. I'd bet everything on it. Your father mentioned a backup plan once. A sealed account containing the original designs, patents, and investment records of Lin Technologies. If Zhao Ming finds that before we do, he'll have access to the very foundation your father built, and he'll twist it into something unrecognizable. A surge of determination rushed through me. Then we go to Singapore. Li Chen studied me for a moment. You've been through enough, Yue. You could stay here. Let me handle it. I met his gaze fiercely. This started with my father. I won't sit back while someone destroys what's left of him. I'm going. A small knowing smile touched his lips. The kind of smile that said he expected nothing less. Then pack light. We leave tonight. The flight was long, filled with silence and unspoken thoughts. The hum of the plane engines reminded me of how my old life had crashed. So fast, so suddenly, before I could even react. But this time, I wasn't afraid of turbulence. I'd lived through worse. When we landed, the city lights of Singapore shimmered like liquid gold beneath the humid night sky. Li Chen led us to a discreet private office in the financial district. The kind of place where fortunes were made and erased quietly. Inside, the scent of leather and cold air conditioning was overwhelming. This is the firm your father used to handle his trust, Li Chen explained, handing over a worn keycard. It's been inactive for years, but the documents you have from that envelope, included an access code. That might still work. We walked through the glass doors, the lights flickering on as if the place itself recognized my presence. The receptionist's desk was empty, the office long abandoned, yet everything felt eerily preserved, like time had frozen the day my father died. At the far end of the hall stood a steel door, secured with biometric locks. I swiped the card, typed in the code, and held my breath. The green light blinked. Click. Inside, a small safe sat on a marble pedestal, along with a digital screen asking for a passphrase. "Do you know it?" Lee Chen asked softly. I closed my eyes, remembering my father's voice. Calm, patient, full of warmth. "Yeah, remember, integrity is the only legacy that never fades." I typed the word integrity. The safe hissed open. Inside lay several documents, a flash drive, and, to my shock, a sealed envelope addressed to me. My hands trembled as I picked it up. "To my dearest Yue," it began in my father's familiar handwriting. "If you're reading this, it means the worst has come true. Jiaoming was ambitious, but I once believed he could be guided. If he betrayed me, then the truth must come from you." Inside this drive is the blueprint for Lin Technologies' most important creation, a renewable energy design that could change the world. Protect it, Yue. Don't let greed claim what was born from hope. Tears blurred my vision. I bit my lip, trying to steady myself. But my father's words broke something inside me that had been hardened by years of betrayal. He never stopped believing in me, I whispered. Li Chen stepped closer, his voice low and steady. "He knew you'd find this. That's why he left the clues behind." But before I could respond, a sound outside made us both freeze. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Li Chen's expression darkened instantly. "We're not alone." He motioned for me to step back as he peered out the narrow glass panel near the door. My heart raced as I caught a glimpse. Two men in suits, moving quickly, communicating through earpieces. Jiaoming's men. Li Chen muttered. "He must have left them behind to watch this place." My pulse thundered. He knew I'd come. "He's counting on it," Li Chen said grimly. "He wants to corner you. Finish what he started." The men's voices grew louder. Li Chen grabbed my hand. "Come on." We slipped through the side hallway, the safe still open behind us. Just as we turned the corner, the door to the main office burst open with a crash. We raced down the narrow stairwell, my heels echoing against the cold concrete. "We can't let them get the drive," I hissed. "We won't," Li Chen promised. "I'll distract them. You take the drive and go to the Marina archive. There's a hidden Dropbox there. My contact will protect you." "I'm not leaving you." He stopped, turned, and cupped my face with both hands. His touch steady, even as danger closed in. "Yeah, listen to me. You've come too far to lose now. I'll find you. I promise." For a moment, I wanted to believe him. Not just his words, but the way he looked at me, like he wasn't just protecting my father's legacy, but me. Then he pushed me gently toward the back door. "Go!" I ran, clutching the flash drive like my life depended on it. The rain poured harder now, thunder splitting the sky. Behind me, I heard shouting, Li Chen's voice, then gunfire. I didn't dare look back. When I reached the edge of the marina, I ducked into an alley, gasping for breath. My clothes clung to my skin, my hands shaking, but I held the drive tightly. I'd kept it safe, for now. But the silence that followed was worse than the chaos. Li Chen didn't come. Minutes turned to hours, and dawn began to break over the harbour, the sea reflecting shades of pink and grey. I stood there, drenched and trembling, wondering if fate was playing its cruel game again, giving me hope, only to snatch it away. Then my phone buzzed. One message, from Li Chen. "I'm fine. Get to safety. Don't trust anyone from Zhao's side, especially Ruoyi. She's not who you think she is." I read it twice, heart pounding. Not who I think she is. Suddenly, everything shifted again. The betrayal, the lies, the missing pieces. Maybe this wasn't just about business or legacy. Maybe it was about something deeper, darker, something my father had tried to shield me from. As I tucked the drive safely into my jacket and stared at the rising sun, I whispered to myself, then I'll finish this. For father, for the truth, for everyone you hurt, Zhao Ming. And in the distance, the waves carried back a faint reflection of my resolve. Unbroken, unyielding, and ready for the storm that was still to come. The sun rose over Singapore's harbour, painting the skyline gold, but I felt none of its warmth. My soaked clothes clung to my skin as I sat in the small safe house Li Chen's contact had arranged. The flash drive lay on the table in front of me, glinting faintly in the light, as if mocking me with the weight of secrets it held. Li Chen's last message, replayed in my head like a haunting melody. Don't trust anyone from Zhao's side, especially Ruoyi. She's not who you think she is. I'd read those words 100 times already, but each time, they sliced deeper. Lin Ruoyi, my half-sister by law, my rival in love, the woman who once claimed she'd save me, wasn't who I thought she was. What did that mean? I clenched my fists. I couldn't afford to sit in fear anymore. I needed answers. By noon, I'd hacked into Zhao Ming's corporate travel records, using Li Chen's encrypted access. A trick he'd taught me in case of emergency. It didn't take long to find it. Zhao Ming had rented a private villa outside the city under an alias. There, he was meeting a key associate. The initials in the file made my stomach twist. L.R. Ruoyi. I grabbed my bag and left. The road to the villa wound through dense greenery, quiet and heavy with the scent of rain-soaked earth. I stopped a few meters from the gate, crouching behind a tree. Through the iron bars, I could see them. Zhao Ming, tall and sharp in a dark suit, and Ruoyi, elegant in a cream dress, standing close together under the shade of the veranda. Their voices carried faintly through the air. Are you sure she has the drive? Zhao Ming asked, his tone clipped. Ruoyi smirked. Positive. She's too predictable. Yue's always been emotional. She'll hold on to anything her father left behind like it's holy. Zhao Ming chuckled darkly. Good. Once she tries to access it publicly, we'll claim the pattern under her father's old company name and make her look like the thief. My heart pounded. He was going to use my father's legacy to destroy me again. But what made me freeze wasn't Zhao's words. It was Ruoyi's laughter. Cold, detached, so unlike the soft, caring tone she'd once used when she called me sister. Don't look so pleased with yourself, Zhao Ming said suddenly. If this fails, you'll go down with her. Ruoyi's smile faltered. You promised me protection. You said once Yue was gone, you'd announce our partnership. Zhao Ming leaned closer, his hand gripping her chin roughly. I promised many things, Ruoyi. You should know by now. Promises mean nothing to me. Something inside me snapped. I stepped out from behind the trees, my voice slicing through the humid air. You always did underestimate people, Zhao Ming. They both turned, shock flashing across their faces. Zhao's expression shifted first. Surprise, then irritation, then that same smirk I once mistook for charm. Yue, I was wondering when you'd show up. Ruoyi's eyes darted nervously. You shouldn't be here. I ignored her, focusing on Zhao. You stole my father's company, lied to me, and now you're trying to erase his legacy entirely. How far will you go? Zhao shrugged lazily. As far as I need to. Your father's designs were wasted under his moral nonsense. I'm giving them purpose. Profit. Profit built on lies and betrayal. I spat. You killed his dream. He laughed softly. Dreams don't pay dividends, Yue. Before I could respond, Ruoyi suddenly stepped forward. Her voice trembled slightly, but there was something defiant in her eyes. Yeah, stop pretending you're the only victim here. Do you think it was easy for me? Do you think I didn't suffer? I blinked. You suffered. You helped him. She laughed bitterly. Helped him? You think I had a choice? He's been using me for years. Ever since he found out who I really was. My breath caught. Who? You really were? Royi's lips trembled. I'm not Lin Royi. I was adopted. Your father's company took me in after my real father, Zhao Ming's father, went bankrupt. Zhao told me everything. That your father was the reason his family lost everything. He made me believe I was reclaiming what was stolen. I staggered back. You're Zhao's half-sister. She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Half-sister. And pawn. He used my hatred and confusion to ruin your life. Zhao snorted. Don't dramatize it. You got what you wanted. Luxury, fame, my attention. Royi's expression hardened. Your attention was poison. For a moment, silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Then Zhao pulled a gun from his coat pocket, aiming it directly at me. Enough of this. Hand over the drive, Yue. I'll make sure your death looks like an accident. The metallic click echoed in my chest like a heartbeat. But I didn't move. I met his gaze with calm defiance. Go ahead, Zhao. You've already killed everything you ever had that was human. What's one more crime? He smirked, finger tightening on the trigger. But before he could fire, a shot rang out from the trees. Zhao stumbled, the gun falling from his hand. Blood blooming on his shoulder. Li Chen! I gasped. He emerged from the shadows, gun in hand. Expression cold. You never did learn when to stop, Zhao. Zhao groaned, clutching his wound. You, again. Li Chen stepped closer, kicking the gun away. You should have stayed in hiding. Royi rushed toward me, trembling. Yeah, go! He has more men nearby. But before we could move, headlights flashed across the property. A convoy of cars screeched to a stop outside the gate. Police vehicles. Lights spinning red and blue. Li Chen turned to me, breathless but smiling. Back up. They tracked Xiao's signal when he left the airport. It's over. Xiao looked around, realizing he was cornered. His voice dripped venom. You think this changes anything? You'll never outrun what I built. I stepped forward, holding up the flash drive. No, Zhao, I'm not outrunning it. I'm reclaiming it, as the police rushed in and handcuffed him. His glare never left me. Sharp, burning, almost desperate. You think you've won, Yue? You'll see. The truth always costs more than you're willing to pay. His words sent a chill down my spine, but I didn't let it show. When they took him away, Royi stood beside me, eyes empty. I wanted revenge, she whispered. But all I did was lose myself. I looked at her, a strange mixture of anger and pity in my chest. Then start over, Roya, like I did. She nodded weakly. If you can forgive me, maybe I will. As the sun set, I turned to Li Chen. It's over, isn't it? He looked at me quietly, then shook his head. Not yet. Zhao was just the surface. The deeper rot, the people funding him, the ones who profited from your father's downfall. They're still out there. I felt a strange calm settle in me. Then we keep fighting. He smiled faintly. That's the Yue I know. And as the orange light bathed the city, I realized this wasn't the end of my father's story. Or mine. It was only the beginning of a legacy reborn. One built not from betrayal, but from truth, courage, and the will to rise again. The days that followed Zhao Ming's arrest were a whirlwind. Headlines around the world exposed his crimes, Lin Royi's real identity, and the truth about Lin Technologies. Investors panicked, the boardrooms buzzed, and yet, through it all, I remained steady. This time, I was no longer the naive daughter who trusted the wrong man. I was the Lin Wei who had lived, lost, and been reborn. Someone ready to claim what was hers. Not out of vengeance, but purpose. Li Chen stayed by my side, his presence quiet but reassuring. Together, we began reviewing the documents from my father's drive, auditing every contract, every patent, and every blueprint. Slowly, methodically, we pieced together the empire my father had built, one designed not for greed, but for progress, renewable energy projects, community development programs, innovations in technology, everything my father had dreamed of. And now, under our guidance, it would finally see the light of day one evening as the office lights cast long shadows across the marble floors. Li Chen approached me with a folder. His expression was unusually solemn. "Yue, there's something else you need to see," I frowned, opening it. Inside were letters, bank statements, and photographs. Evidence of my father's secret efforts to protect me even before his death. And then, a small folded note in familiar handwriting. Li Chen was always more than a friend. Protect him as you would me, and you will find a partner worthy of your courage. I blinked, heart catching. Li Chen, who had been by my side all this time, who had fought alongside me, risked everything for me, had been my father's trusted confidant. The man who had always seemed reserved, almost distant, had been chosen to guide me, protect me, and perhaps even love me. I looked up to find him watching me, his quiet patience unwavering. "You've done it, Yue," he said softly. "You didn't just reclaim the company. You reclaimed your life." I smiled, a mix of exhaustion and relief washing over me. "I couldn't have done it without you, Li Chen. Not just the fight, everything." He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "You won the truth, Yue. Now it's time to live it." We worked tirelessly over the next few months, restructuring Lin Technologies, repaying debts, honoring my father's original contracts, and restoring trust in every investor and community partner. Every step was a testament to the life my father had envisioned, one built on integrity and hope. And through it all, Li Chen remained a constant presence, guiding, supporting, and silently offering comfort when the weight of the past threatened to overwhelm me. Slowly, our bond deepened, built on mutual respect and unspoken understanding. Finally, the day came when we unveiled the first of my father's major projects, a renewable energy initiative that would provide clean electricity to thousands of families. The launch ceremony was attended by the press, investors, and community leaders. Cameras flashed, microphones hovered, but my gaze found only Li Chen. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly. I took a deep breath, clutching the microphone. Yes, for my father, for Lin Technologies, and for everyone who believed in truth over lies. This is just the beginning. As I spoke to the crowd, explaining the vision, the mission, and the impact, I realized something profound. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about Zhaoming, Ruoyi, or the betrayals of the past. This was about legacy, reborn, restored, and stronger than ever. After the ceremony, standing on the balcony overlooking the city, Li Chen slipped his hand into mine. "You've grown stronger than anyone could have imagined," he said. I looked up at him smiling. "No, Li Chen, we've grown stronger. Together," he nodded, eyes warm. Together, the sun set behind the skyline, casting golden light across the city that had once been a battlefield for lies and betrayal. I felt it then. A lightness, a freedom I had never known. This time, I was no longer a pawn. I was no longer the girl who trusted blindly. I was Lin Yue, reborn, unshakable, and finally, free. And beside me, Li Chen's hand was steady, warm, and real. A reminder that some promises endure beyond death, beyond betrayal, and beyond fear. As the city lights began to sparkle, I whispered quietly, "Father, we did it. We honored your legacy, and this time, I chose my own path, my own life, my own love." Li Chen squeezed my hand, and for the first time, I believed in a future, untainted by the shadows of the past. The storm had passed, and from its ashes, something beautiful had emerged. A legacy reborn, a life reclaimed, and a love that was real, and that finally was worth everything. That's all for today, folks. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!